Who cuts like that? You useless thing. My sister barked, the ladle cracking against the back of my head so hard it rattled my skull. For a second my vision blurred white, then the TV got louder. Dad just grabbed the remote and turned the volume up like I was background noise in his living room. My name is Riley Hanford. I'm 31. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. When did they decide I was the family punching bag? As I steadied the knife again, chopping onions with shaking hands, a single question echoed in my head. What does a daughter have to do to be treated like a human being in her own parents' house? The kitchen smelled of garlic butter and rosemary. I was making everyone lunch, not because they asked nicely, but because they expected it. No thanks. No respect. Just orders. Mom's favorite candle, the same vanilla pillar I always light when something inside me is about to break, flickered beside the stove. That candle is my motif, my reminder that fire can warm or warn. My sister leaned casually against the counter, smirking like she owned the place. Honestly, she said to Dad, I don't know why she even tries. She was always slow. Dad laughed through his nose, not loudly, but enough. Enough to communicate agreement. Enough to grind another layer of humiliation into my bones. I swallowed the burn rising in my throat. Fine. If they wanted a joke, if they wanted a weak one, if they wanted someone to dump tasks on like a live-in maid, they were about to get a show. Because the doorbell rang, loud, cutting through the kitchen like a warning shot. My sister smirked again. But 5 minutes later, there was a loud crash from the kitchen. And that was the exact second everything shifted. Dad's chair screeched against the hardwood when the crash echoed through the kitchen. He came running for once. His shoes slid slightly on the tile, and he stopped dead in the doorway when he saw what was on the floor. The knife block smashed. Every knife scattered. Not violently, just deliberately removed, placed on the counter, then dropped. My sister's face instantly drained of color, because she knew exactly what that meant. I wasn't playing weak anymore. Dad stared at the countertop, finally noticing what he'd never bothered to see. My laptop was open. My single black binder, open. Bank statements. Screenshots. Proof. Of every transfer I'd made for this household for the last 7 years. My rent payments that covered their mortgage. My grocery runs that fed their guests. My medical bills for Mom's treatments. $312,400 total. Dad's voice cracked. Where did you get all this? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't scream. I didn't tremble. I'm done being your unpaid maid, I said evenly. I'm done being hid in my own parents' kitchen. I'm done cooking for people who treat me like trash. My sister opened her mouth, then slowly closed it, because the next part was what terrified them. A small red envelope sat next to the binder, sealed, with the notary stamp visible through the glassine window. The house, I said, tapping it once with my finger, is officially no longer in Dad's or Mom's name. Dad stumbled back one step. My sister grabbed the counter. Vanilla candle burning steady. Fire warning, not warming. Because I wasn't done. And the look in Dad's eyes told me, for the first time in 31 years, they realized I wasn't bluffing. Not today. My sister finally found her voice, that fake sweet tone she used whenever she was caught. Why are you being dramatic? We're family. We always help each other. I laughed, quietly, because that was the exact sentence she said when she needed money, but never when I needed anything. Dad tried to regain control. You have no right to change property documents without consulting. I held up one hand. Actually, I had every right, because the house was in MOM and Dad's name jointly. When Mom filed the transfer intent last year, remember the spring form she signed before the hospital? I processed it, legally, before she died. Dad blinked. Slow. Processing. My sister whispered. You liar. I turned the laptop toward them. Email timeline. County clerk receipts. Digital stamps. Mom's signature. Video confirmation. Date. Time. No, I said. You just assumed I was too stupid to do anything real with my life. My sister stumbled back until her hip hit the counter. Dad, do something. But he couldn't, because he finally understood. He wasn't in the legal position anymore. And one more thing, I said, sliding a second envelope toward them, this one white. Dad didn't touch it at first. Then, with shaking fingers, he opened it. Eviction notice. 5 days. He looked up at me, expression broken. Where will we go? I felt nothing. Not rage. Not revenge. Just clarity. Where did I go when you ignored me? When you mocked me? When you hit mute on your remote instead of telling your daughter to stop hitting me? Silence, thick enough to taste. I'm not throwing you out, I said quietly. I'm giving you what you taught me. Dad swallowed. What's that? I met his eyes. You're on your own. They stood there in my kitchen like collapsed statues. Not proud, not powerful, just exposed. My sister tried again, voice cracking. You can't do this. You're my sister. There it was. The word she only used when she needed something. I walked to the sink, turned off the faucet, and dried my hands slowly with a towel. The smallest sounds suddenly felt enormous. The hum of the refrigerator, the slow ticking of the wall clock, my father's shaky breathing. You know what's crazy? I said quietly. All these years, it never mattered what I did for this family. You never noticed until you needed something. Dad stepped forward. We raised you, we fed you. No, I corrected. Mom raised me. You watched TV. He flinched like I slapped him. My sister grabbed the counter for support. Just give us time. We'll figure something out. I stared at her. You had years to figure something out. She looked terrified now, because she could see this wasn't a performance. This wasn't a bluff. This wasn't the quiet little girl they used to bully and humiliate. I picked up my keys. I'm leaving for a few hours. Don't touch anything. Don't pack anything. Don't break anything. The sheriff will stop by. He'll explain your rights. My sister choked out. You wouldn't make us homeless. But she already knew. This wasn't punishment. It was mirrored justice. Adult consequences for adult entitlement. I stepped toward the door. Dad whispered behind me, the smallest voice I've ever heard from him. Where are you going? I paused, hand on the doorknob. To live my life, I said softly. Something you've never allowed me to do in this house. Then I walked out and didn't look back. When I returned at dusk, a sheriff cruiser was already parked outside. Lights off, engine running, quiet authority. My sister and my dad were sitting on the front step like scolded children. My sister's mascara had bled down into her neckline. My dad stared at cracks in the pavement like they were some portal he could fall through. Deputy Carson nodded when he saw me walking up the path. Ms. Myers, your instructions were followed. They understand the temporary order and the access limits. My dad jumped up immediately. This is humiliating. You called law enforcement on your own family. I didn't blink. They broke the law. I didn't. My sister's eyes darted nervously. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. That's the problem, I replied. You never thought I could. Deputy Carson cleared his throat. They're allowed to retrieve personal clothing and medication, supervised. Everything else stays. My dad scoffed. You think you're powerful now, but one day you'll need us. I smiled, not cruelly, just factually. No. I needed you when I was 9, when I was 14, when I was 18, when I was 22, when I begged for help and you laughed. That window closed years ago. My sister wiped her face. You're doing this because of one stupid comment over a pot of soup? No, I answered. The ladle just made it obvious. Deputy Carson held open the door. They went inside quietly, no shouting now, no arrogance, no entitlement. Just smallness. 30 minutes later they left with a single duffel each, the bare minimum the law allowed. Dad stopped in the driveway. You'll regret this, he whispered. I locked the front door from the inside. No, I whispered back through the glass. I finally stopped regretting myself. The next morning, sunlight poured into the kitchen like nothing had happened. But everything had. For the first time in my own house, there was no tension in the air. Just stillness. Just mine. I made coffee slowly, grounding myself in the silence. Then a knock. Not pounding. Not rage. A small, sharp tap. Through the glass of the front door, I saw my dad. Alone this time. He held a paper bag, the same bakery I used to beg him to stop at with me when I was a kid, the one he only ever stopped at when she wanted something. I opened the door halfway. He didn't step inside. He held the bag out awkwardly. "Your favorite cinnamon twist," he murmured. "Still warm." It took everything in me not to laugh, because the gesture wasn't love. It was negotiation. "Lindsay needs a second chance," he whispered. "Your sister, she's been through a lot." There it was. The script. Protect the golden child. He waited for me to soften like all the other times. I didn't. "Do you know what I realized last night?" I said quietly. "The only time you come toward me is when you want something from me." He blinked. Maybe he knew. Maybe he always knew. "You can leave the bakery bag on the bench," I said. "But this conversation ends here." He swallowed hard. That hurt him more than slamming the door would have. He placed the bag down slowly like it was an offering. Then he stepped back, and he whispered, barely audible, "I don't know how to be your dad." I nodded once. "Then don't ask me to be your savings account." I closed the door. Soft. Final. And through the glass. He didn't move. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. By noon, my phone started vibrating nonstop. Not calls, bank notifications. Attempted transfers. Attempted logins. 3 declined card charges. They were testing every possible angle. My sister tried Apple Pay first. Then she tried Venmo. Then she tried logging into my old joint savings account from 6 years ago, the one I forgot even existed. She must have had the password written down somewhere. She didn't realize I already froze everything last night. Then an email hit my inbox, forwarded through the mortgage portal. They submitted a request to access MY Home Equity. That was the moment I actually sat down, heart steady, not scared, just stunned by how bottomless their entitlement was. 5 minutes later, Ethan, my attorney, FaceTimed me. He didn't even say hello. He said one sentence. "Tell me their full legal names. Every one of them." I listed them calmly. No shaking. No hesitation. "Dad. Lindsay. Brian." Ethan typed while I spoke. "And the officer who responded yesterday?" he asked. "Deputy Carson." I answered. Ethan nodded once, tight, controlled. "Perfect. We'll attach his incident report." There was no emotion in his voice, just clean legal steel. He looked at me through the screen with a strange mix of pride and heartbreak. "Liv, this is going to fast-track consequences they can't undo." I leaned back in my chair. "I know." I looked around my own kitchen, warm light, clean counters, a space that didn't feel like a battlefield anymore, but like a home. And I said it out loud, finally hearing it. "I'm not punishing them. I'm removing access." Ethan exhaled. Relief and approval blended together. "Good," he replied, "because the paperwork we're filing next is going to make yesterday look like a polite warning." The hearing was set for 9 a.m. I arrived at 8:42, calm. Hair tied low. Navy blazer. No theatrics. My sister, dad, and brother were already there, whisper fighting in the hallway like anxious teenagers caught cheating on an exam. They froze when they saw me. My sister's lip curled. "You're really doing this? To your family?" I tilted my head. Not cruel, just observant. "You did that part yourselves." Inside, the administrative judge flipped through the case file. Thick now, screenshots, statements, bank logs, call logs, Deputy Carson's report. It was all so ordinary on paper. No screaming. No melodrama. Just actions. And then consequences. The judge looked at my sister. Attempted unauthorized withdrawals are a serious matter. You accessed accounts that were not legally yours. You attempted to open credit under her name. That is fraud. My sister swallowed so hard her shoulders jerked. Dad tried to jump in. "We're family. This is misunderstanding. She's overreacting." The judge raised a hand. "Sir, family relationships are irrelevant to financial crime." That sentence, that single sentence, felt like 10 years of therapy landing in one moment. After rulings, restraining boundaries, and signed papers, we walked out into the hallway. My brother actually reached out to touch my arm, voice shaking. "Liv, we didn't think you would go this far." I didn't pull away. I simply said, "You should have understood the first time I said no." And then I walked toward the exit. The glass doors reflected sunlight, my own face, unafraid. Outside, Ethan leaned against his car, sunglasses hooked on his shirt, holding 2 coffees. "I'm guessing it's done?" he asked. I nodded. It's done. We sat in the car for a moment, engine quiet. Ethan reached over and tapped the folder in my lap, the signed final orders. This isn't revenge, he said softly. This is self-ownership. For the first time in my life, I believed him completely. I texted my daughter one sentence. You will never inherit what hurt me. And with that, the cycle ended.